Okay, it's the Skate Punk Lefty back with another video. I guess before we go into Ben Shapiro's strange review of the Barbie movie, I can just talk about my thoughts on the movie. I think it was a wonderful movie that wasn't too preachy and it criticized different things about masculinity and patriarchy and capitalism and even a little subtly white supremacy in ways that that just weren't too preachy, and it was just a fun movie. There are a lot of laughs in the movie, a lot of hijinks because at the end of the day, it's Barbie. It's basically a kids product. So I feel like from my perspective as an adult, especially an adult left wing person that's like very politically engaged, I feel like it was one of the better movies of the summer and stuff. I think it was a top grossing movie. It was the final one I went to go see it with my wife. When it came out a few months ago. I don't remember when it came out, but it was a pretty good movie. I don't want to spoil it too much, and I feel like throughout this entire review, there are going to be it's going to be a lot of spoilers for this movie. So if you have not seen it, you can go rent it. I'm sure on some type of streaming service. I believe you can probably rent it on YouTube at this point. Or maybe it's still in theaters. I really don't think so because it's basically it's October at this point, so I'm not sure if it's in theaters. But yeah, it was the last summer blockbuster, and it was a good movie that criticized a lot of weird problems. I think this was more of a movie, than just a feminist criticism of society. It was also just like, just talking about what it's like to be a woman, and if you're a male leftist, or a man that's interested into watching and reading feminism. But I guess of course if you're a woman or anybody in between too, this would be a good movie for you to watch. It's pretty nice. And let's get into this fucking weird psychopath piece of shit Ben Shapiro, who is pretty much just a strange white supremacist fucking hack who talks fast and delivers a lot of misinformation that sounds intelligent in ways that that has fooled a lot of people into becoming like ironically actual Nazis. Ironically enough, with him being a Jewish person, he has a lot of far right beliefs and stuff. And I just wonder, does Ben Shapiro think about the type of society that he's building when he's talking all this shit? But without further ado,
seeing Barbie. And
let's go.
Well, folks, I just got back from the theaters seeing Barbie and Oppenheimer. I'm about to review both of them. I'm going to tell you which one of these is the best blockbuster of 2023 and which one is maybe the worst.
I bet he loved our movie, right, Ken?
For those of you who can't wait that long, I'm going to give my review of the Barbie movie in the most Oppenheimer fashion.
What the f?
You so fucking whack, bro, that you couldn't even throw shit. I can throw shit over my head and make it into a garbage can that's like 5 feet behind me. You call yourself this so-called fucking super masculine cool guy, but you had to edit something being fucking thrown in the trash can behind you away, bro. Get the fuck on.
Right.
And this whole scene, by the way, there's nothing gay about a man. Yeah, this guy's not gay or feminine in any way. Just a man here playing with dolls, burning fucking merchandise that was already bought and paid for by him or the studio to make a weird political point. It's like, don't get me wrong, man. I understand like political, sentiment being shown through like physical activities like burning flags or tearing down things or throwing stuff away. There's nothing wrong with doing stuff like that in video, but you got a grown ass man who went to fucking Walmart to buy a bunch of random Barbie toys to put in the trash can and burn. Like, you don't have nothing else better to do with your time. Like, and it's like, even if you don't like this movie, and I've seen lots of movies that I didn't like over the years, but I don't pile up a bunch of shit in a garbage can and burn it. And they say like, oh, leftists are so sensitive, but at least left-wing people don't do shit like this. I've never seen a left-wing person. Only thing leftists would do, they do shit of actual semblance, like pulling down statues or graffiti art or burning the American flag. But this shit, you went to fucking Walmart or Target to buy a bunch of fucking Barbie dolls to throw in the trash can and burn, so your fucking misogynistic fan base can oof off of it and shit. Like, what the hell? right wing people totally not overly sensitive and overly
So the
engaged.
things I do for my audience, my producers dragged me to go see Barbie movie,
Nah, man, you wanted to go see it.
Barbie the movie, and I have thoughts. This video is sponsored by ExpressVPN. Let me begin with my generalized assessment of the movie. This movie
Everything's about the dollar. See, he sells you like white supremacist far right bullshit, while for some reason these corporations still get this guy sponsors when he promotes nothing but fucking hatred. Where's my ExpressVPN? What you call it? Not saying that I'm even into the things that I do for the money. I mean, this bitch just to tell the truth, but this dude like literally has to plug. They plug everything. Black Rifle Coffee, this ExpressVPN, that. Like, come on, dude. I'm not saying that it's not left wing channels that do it, but it's feel like it's more flagrant and strange when right wing channels do it.
Not just a piece of shit. This movie is a flaming piece of dog piled atop an entire dumpster on fire, piled atop a landfill.
Okay, man. Oh fucking K.
It is one
Jesus,
of the worst movies
bro.
I've ever seen.
It's because Ben Shapiro is of course he's a misogynist, so he hates when anything criticizes so-called traditional femininity or traditional masculinity. He hates things that criticize capitalism, hates things that criticize the way that the world has been strung up in a way that harms and hurts other people, especially women, people of color, or LGBT people, or even just the poor. So he has to, because this movie, because like I said in my like short review at the beginning, it's like a very good non-preachy movie that gets people, whether you're politically engaged or not, thinking about the pervasive ways which anti-womanists, I want to say, or not even anti-feminism, but just like misogyny and capitalism work together to hurt women and what it means to be a woman in our society. And this guy doesn't want any of that shit. Of course, he wants you to be as ignorant as fucking possible. Blind to the ways that you're being exploited or taken advantage of. And because this movie basically criticizes Ben Shapiro in his contemporaries' worldview, he has to go on these weird-ass tirades about, oh, it ain't shit, it's a dumpster fire, it's bad. Like, come on, man. Relax.
Possible level is
maybe you should ask yourself why you feel those ways about this movie instead of instead of just like up here just bitching. Like, you can maybe it's things that the movie questions the movie asks, and it's things that you can change about yourself instead of you just bitching.
Terrific movie. The only thing that can be said for this film is production design. Production design is really nice. Costumes are really nice. Also, it's really hard to screw that up. It's really hard to screw that up because you literally have this to model after. All you have to do is this, but big. Okay, it's really not hard. But put aside all of the beautiful costumes, which is there for the ladies, and all of the production design and the Barbie universe and all of that. Every joke that happens in this film happens basically within the first 45 seconds of the film. So, for example, Barbie turns on the water and there's no water. Ooh, because, like in Barbie house, there's no actual water. Do you get
this movie is actually funny as hell, and there's jokes through the entire run of the movie. And even during the more intense, like, emotional scenes and stuff, they know how to break up the humor with jokes. Break up the intensity and the emotion with jokes. So,
and then
don't know what you're talking
there's
about.
No actual liquid in the actual cup. Oh my God, because she's a Barbie doll. Oh, I get it. Okay, that's all the jokes. There are no more jokes for the rest of the film.
Here we go.
The movie's a shit show. Okay, so conceptually, the movie is a shit show. I want to ask this: who is the intended audience for the film? Who's the intended audience for this film? So I'll tell you who the intended audience for this film is, and I can tell two ways: one, the previews on the film, and two, the people in the audience. So the intended audience for this film is moms and their 8-year-old daughters. That's the intent.
Not necessarily. I feel like the marketing for this Barbie movie and the content of the movie was more marketed towards young adults, because it's one thing I say all the time as a toy collector myself, of many different forms. Of course, not fucking Barbie dolls, but like, my wife and her ponies and shit like that. It's that how can I put this shit? Older people are the ones that buy and collect toys like action figures and Barbie dolls or Bratz dolls and all that other stuff. This is why, like, in marketing and commercials and stuff, you don't really see much marketing towards kids anymore. It's because these corporations are aware that their main target demographics are adults trying to relive their childhood or get certain character pieces of different characters that they want. So everything from Transformers to Marvel Legends to anime figurines and even Barbie dolls are technically marketed towards adults now, because kids are not like because I was born in the final generation of children, I kind of feel like toys were marketed to before everything switched to electronics and video games. And when everything switched to electronics and video games, you know, a lot of companies, corporations, both Mattel, Hasbro, and Toy Biz, and all these corporations began to be aware, like, okay, kids are no longer buying our toys and products, so we're gonna make things that market them towards adults. It's kind of like how we have the Transformers movies. It's kind of like how we have the MCU, and of course, in towards the women's side of things, you have the this Barbie movie. Is because the people that own Barbie, Mattel, their marketing team is aware that young children are not the ones buying the dolls anymore. It's mostly 20 to probably 20 to 50-year-old women who collect dolls. It's not really like 8-year-old girls anymore. Most 8-year-old girls, I'm sure, are just like, I don't know what kids do nowadays. They either A, I'm sure, are watching TV, B, playing the game, or C, scrolling on TikTok or something like that. No kid is just sits around and plays with dolls or trucks or Hot Wheels or anything anymore. Like I said, these companies are aware of this, so most of the products that these companies make are now marketed to adults. Like, it's really that simple.
Intended audience for the film. I know because the previews for the film were all kids movies. I'm talking like G or PG rated kids films. We're talking like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles or Trolls 4 or whatever it is.
And while we're on the subject, and damn, this is a long video, I gotta keep pausing. I'm gonna skip through it too. While we're on this subject, is that this wasn't a distasteful movie that a child couldn't have sat through. Because even when they did have like weird jokes, like sexual innuendo jokes and stuff like that, it was done in a backhanded, childish way. None of the jokes in this movie were just like complete adult humor about I want to say like penises or people doing anal or whatever the fuck he has on his mind.
Those were all the previews, right? All the previews are actually directed at what the audience is supposed to be for this film. And if you look in the audience, it's a bunch of moms.
And I dare say even those like cartoon movies are even marketed towards like younger to older adults, because like I said, kids are not really interested in cartoons and action figures or dolls anymore, or trucks or Hot Wheels cars. Most kids nowadays play video games or want some type of electronic, and they're not necessarily interested in watching these franchises anymore.
Middle-aged moms with their 6, 7, 8-year-old girls. That's the entire crew. This movie is not made for any of those people. In fact, this movie is made for no one. This movie is going to make a bunch of money week one because the marketing effort has been...
It was made for everybody. And then, how does it hurt to feel that this was the highest grossing movie of the entire summer?
Extraordinary. I mean, whoever's the marketing team over at Warner Brothers is doing an amazing job. Week one, this thing is going to clean up at the domestic box office. My prediction is going to just absolutely fall off a cliff after that. The repeat business on this movie is going to be non-existent because it was written by two people who are so smug and self-satisfied, in Greta Gerwig and Noah Baumbach, that they have no audience. I mean, who thought it's a great idea? Let's bring on the people who wrote Lady Bird and Marriage Story to make a movie about a plastic doll that is generally played with by 5 to 9-year-old young girls. So the basic idea of the film, they really have no basic idea of the film. They don't know whether they hate Barbie or that we're supposed to kind of like Barbie. It seems they kind of despise Barbie as a fascist emblem, as we'll get to. The basic sort of premise of the film, politically speaking, is that men and women are on two sides of the divide, and they hate each other. And literally the only way you can have a happy world is if the women ignore the men and the men ignore the women. That seems to be the final outcome of this film. I was trying to separate this into problems.
I hate when they do this shit, when they do nothing but promote misogynistic and antagonistic propaganda against women. Keep in mind, these are the same people who are anti-Me Too. These are the same people who say that women are trying to work too much and women don't belong in a workplace. These are the same people that defend people like Andrew Tate and Sneeko and shit like that, and associate with all these terrible fucking people. And then they trying to say they're trying to pit men and women against each other. Like, everybody else is the race baiter, everybody else is the misogynist, gender baiter, everybody else is the fucking queer baiter. But y'all constantly do nothing but promote propaganda, hackney ass data and statistics about how some minority is bad, But everybody else is doing the misogynistic bait. You know, like yo, one of your employers, Dennis Prager, really literally wrote a y'all was defending Rush Limbaugh, and he was on whatever, dude. Like I
And problems with character and problems
can't talk about
with
Rush Limbaugh.
politics.
I'm not
But
trying
they're
to get
all
too
intertwined
dirty.
because the thing is just a mess. It doesn't make any sense. Plot-wise, it makes no sense. Character-wise, it makes no sense. So let's just go through it from the
It
beginning.
makes
There's gonna be
complete
lots of
sense.
spoilers.
This is one of the most coherent movies on like that you can have, and there's nothing wrong with having somebody that wrote more of a mature movie come write like things for children. Like it happens all the motherfucking time. Like you know, and you never know. And then also on top of that, maybe sometimes people that write extremely serious movies or write extremely serious books want to break from the seriousness to write something for children. Like people can be multifaceted, multi-talented at writing many different things.
Spoilers, but believe you me, I'm about to save you so much time because this movie is 2 hours. It feels like it is longer than the Wagnerian ring cycle. It does not end. Every scene
I will say that it's a pretty long movie, but every scene connects to the next, and it makes you want to see more.
is at least 2 minutes too long. Every single scene, every beat is 2 minutes too long. It is a bad film. Put aside the politics. Like really, I was sitting there with a bunch of my.
It's not. I swear to God, guys. It's not. It's not because I'm politically opposed to feminism and the idea of women's liberation. It's not because this movie criticizes capitalism and white supremacy in a light-handed way. I swear to God, it's not political. This movie is just bad because it's bad. Trust me.
Producers. I'm a little bit more political than my producers. My producers.
Dude, all them fucking little bitches that you went to the movie theater with work for the fucking Daily Wire. All of y'all are political, fascist, right-wing hacks, dude, who spend y'all fucking lives. Their little job is promoting propaganda of like hatred towards innocent people. Wouldn't nobody want to be seen if somebody? Because everybody knows who the fuck Ben Shapiro is. Everybody from the alt-right, far-right, like neo-Nazi people to the more just like fascist right, the moderate right, you know, every leftist, every liberal, all these people know who the fuck you are. Ain't nobody gonna go to the movie theater with Ben Shapiro unless they okay with your fucking politics, man. Gone.
Watching this, putting the politics aside, it is a bad movie. So why is it getting 91% on Rotten Tomatoes? Because the way that it works for the reviewers is if you have the right politics, and those politics are sufficiently slyly inserted, then it will get a 91% on Rotten Tomatoes, even if the thing is just
Go ahead.
right. And I mean,
maybe it's just because maybe the political points that you promote or the things that you like, the way that you want the world to be, you know, all this shit about racial hierarchy, misogyny, homophobia, sexism, and the worship of capitalism. Maybe those ideals just aren't popular. Maybe you should stop bitching about other people not agreeing with you and just, you know, analyze why do you feel the way that you feel about these ideas instead of just like getting mad at everybody else. Because you don't have to believe any of the shit you believe. And you know that it's contradicting evidence. You've been in debates with people that have contradicted you and made you shut the fuck up. So, like, you know, you can stop. You can stop this shit. Like, if you have the right politics, like, no. And these corporations and shit are not really interested in society becoming a more left-leaning place. It's just the result that they promote these ideas because they're more popular, bro. Nobody like, and it's like, you know, they paint this picture like society is just full of a bunch of far right maniacs. Society is not full of a bunch of Ben Shapiro's, Jordan Petersons, and fucking like James Alsop's or Nick Fuentes. It's like most of society is like intermediate liberal. You know what I'm saying? And even if they do vote Republican, they're not fucking hateful and ignorant to the point where they can't enjoy a simple movie. This is a you thing, Ben. That thing you like to say to black people. This is a you problem. You feel this way about these movies. Everybody else don't feel this way.
boy, is this track. This is a Death Star sized piece of dreck. It is like that's no move. That's a dreck station. That is
the fuck is with? I thought your opposition wasn't political. What's with all these political these like political takes and insults and jokes and political punches that you're pulling right now? Like, why did you bring up Ruth Bader Ginsburg? Why did you bring her up? I thought we wasn't going to talk about politics. I thought the movie was structurally bad. What happened?
Flashback.
Political hack bullshit they constantly always do. When minorities complain about anything being wrong in society, whether it's women, gay people, black people, Hispanic people, Asian people, or even other Jewish people, they turn around and say like, look, you got LeBron James and Michael Jordan, so it seems like black people are doing okay to me. You have Hillary Clinton, it seems like women are doing okay to me. Just because you have minorities in positions of power does not mean that there is institutional problems in our country against these minorities, be it any minority at all. This is like when they used to say racism was over because we had a black president. Please get better arguments.
Again.
Yeah, eat shit. Corporations are not people, and they should not have any influence or say in our political processes. But unfortunately, because people like you, Ben, they do.
Who is the 7-year-old girl who's like, yes, I too have a very informed perspective?
He gonna say that shit this whole video. Oh, it was made for 7-year-olds. It was made for 7-year-olds. It was made for 7. No, clearly this movie was made by young adults. Said it again. Dolls are made for young women now. They're not made for little girls anymore.
The Citizens United decision. And then they say that logic and feeling
The movie doesn't say that, like we said earlier, and he's gonna repeat himself. I'm about to skip forward if he repeat himself one more time. The movie doesn't say that. You fucks say that. You fucks constantly go on all fucking day on tangents talking about how I spit up a little bit. I apologize for spitting at the camera because I'm eating while doing the video. Probably a bad idea. But y'all constantly go on tirades talking about how women and black people and Jews and Hispanic people and Asian people or whatever control everything. Y'all the motherfuckers that are the partisan hack pieces of shit that constantly go around feeding, of course, mostly white men, or even some minorities that are dumb enough to go along with shit that y'all promote at the Daily Wire. Shit that causes friction in between, what's seen as normal in the status quo in minorities. Like, y'all the motherfuckers that go around saying straight white men are under attack by feminism. Straight white men in the suburbs are under attack by black activists. Straight white men are under attack by feminism. Straight white men are under attack by the existence of trans people. But sometimes y'all try to scapegoat and pretend like y'all care about women for 30 seconds. Or other minorities for 30 seconds. Y'all the motherfuckers that constantly promoting propaganda that creates friction between, straight white men and others. Or men and women. In this case. So you can stop this shit, bro. I really don't like it. And it's transparent. These are literally the same people that say that, oh, life was better in the 1950s before women started working.
Barbie. Because Ken is kind of secondary. You gotta go for it. I mean, what
Did
else
you
will a
say
7-year-old
gay masturbation joke? What in the fuck is? I mean, don't get me wrong. It was a beaten off joke, but at the same time, Ben, I don't understand. Like, why are you so hyper offended, bro? It's just a joke. Now, again, keep in mind these are the same group of people when somebody say like if somebody was to post a meme, right, and it was like a let's say it's like a heavy set or a big black girl next to a picture of a gorilla, right? Ben Shapiro and the rest of his audience and everybody at the Daily Wire will say like, it's just a joke, man. They're not saying that Lizzo really looks like that. They're just joking, bro. People can't take jokes anymore. Comedy is dead. But it's like a completely inoffensive masturbation joke that's not even using direct words referring to masturbation or beating off. And it's like, oh, they're making this joke over and over again. I'm so offended. Like, come on, dude.
rules in the audience think if you don't go for the gay masturbation joke on the beach. Clearly. We get black female President Barbie because this is, of course, the greatest of all possible worlds. Kamala Harris, the Barbie version, is the President of the United States.
He had to sprinkle that shit in there, like, just reminder, I am also a racist. Couldn't help yourself.
Right? Then we get the actual plot point.
Don't forget, guys.
One. Barbie has irrepressible thoughts of death. So again, at this point, you might be thinking to yourself, wait a second, isn't this a kid's movie? Isn't this supposed to be made for 7-year-old girls?
First of all, bro, we gonna keep saying that shit, and we can also talk about this while I'm at it. Not to mention the fact, things that were directed and marketed towards kids, especially, throughout all of television history, directed towards kids, have had adult themes and shit. Whether we're talking about, because, like, we don't even have to talk about anime yet. But we can talk about, like, Batman and animated series. We can talk about Justice League, Avengers Earth Mightiest Hero, Generator Rex, Young Justice, Transformers Prime. It's been so many things that have been marketed towards kids that have had adult messages, against bigotry, against, inequality, against, fascism. Because, like you got to keep in mind, like, the Avengers literally were fighting Red Skull. Red Skull is a Nazi. Like it or not, Ben. And this is not, and then we talk about things like Dragon Ball Z that's done had like things like growth, character depth, colonialism, and and then stuff like Naruto, stuff about orphans and shit. Your argument does not hold up, dude. Kids can watch stuff with adult themes. Kids actually, ironically enough, want things that are more, that makes them feel like they're adults. That's why things like Toonami were so fucking popular. It's because especially young boys and even I'm sure a lot of women, that's why Sailor Moon was so popular. It's because a lot of people want things that make them feel mature. That's what kids want anyway. If we're going to talk about marketing television programs to children, kids don't want like fucking fuddy-duddy ass cuddly stories about Barbie just being a innocent white doll or some shit like that. Kids want tragedy. Kids want death. Kids want to watch things that they learn something from. You know? Because that's how it was when I was growing up. And that's why a lot of the media that people cling to this day, because I'm 28, but a lot of media that a lot of people in my age demographic cling to, you know, like anime, like a lot of those cartoons that I aforementioned, is because they had those adult themes that children were looking for. And that's why you will see a lot of people have these cartoons and anime have cult followings to this day. So stop this bullshit where you're talking about, oh, the innocent children just want to watch a nice movie about a pretty blonde woman saying yes sir, yes ma'am, and being married to Ken. Because this has never been a thing. It's never been a thing. Ever since television animation was, and the only reason why it was like that in the 70s and 80s is because there were different censorship laws on children's television programs. But after those censorship laws got dropped, we started to see more and more stories from both the American and Japanese side of, you know, of writing that had more mature themes. So I don't understand why he says this over and over again, like, oh man, this is just for kids, it's for kids, it's for kids. Kids can't understand this, kids can't understand that. And it's like, yes, kids can't understand things with mature themes, man.
Nope. It's about existential angst over mortality. That's what this film is about. Now, again, interlaced through all of this is just more and more politics, right? One of the Barbies is a trans Barbie, and this is treated totally normally, as though this is a female Barbie, with a voice, again, deeper than my own. So Barbie starts to have these irrepressible thoughts of death, and this comes along with physical symptoms.
Man, you had a voice of a little bitch. Anybody's voice is deeper than yours. My voice is deeper than yours. I'm relatively not even like the toughest sounding man. You know, I'm not going to claim to be that. But you sound like a pussy. That's why. You need to put some bass in your voice. There's plenty of cis women that have deeper voices than you, man. Like, all this shit, bro. Like, y'all try to go so hard for trans people that are just trying to live their fucking life. Like a woman that's just existing in a movie. She's not doing any fucking thing to you.
Symptoms, like, for example, her feet flatten out. Again, this is one of the few cute jokes in the movie, is that Barbie walks around, and just like a normal Barbie doll, when you take off the shoes, the feet are shaped like the shoe, like the high heel. But now, she is turning into like a real world person, and so her feet collapse, right? And so she goes to see Weird Barbie. So Weird Barbie is a Barbie that has been played with too hard and has all the knowledge, not only about Barbie Land, but also about the real world. And apparently there's a connection between people playing with the Barbies and the Barbies. People playing with Barbies are sad, then the Barbies also get sad. Weird that this has only happened to Barbie, because it turns out that lots of people are sad and have played with Barbies for a very long time. But that's the plot point, fine. And again, the concept of like a Barbie that was played with too hard is very funny, because everybody...
Folks, my cat was laying on a piece of cardboard.
I've seen that before, and they somehow blow this. Somehow they make this into a not funny thing. So Weird Barbie is ugly, and she has bad makeup, and all the rest of it. And she informs Barbie she has to go to the real world, and she has to find the person who is playing with her, and she has to make that person feel better, because that will heal the problem that she's having in Barbie Land. Okay, so we have our plot point, right? We have the thing that's going to launch us off into the rest of the movie. And then it's just a complete mess from here on in. At least to this point, it's kind of dumb but coherent. From here on in, it makes no sense at all. Again, Kate McKinnon sets up the dichotomy that pretty much the makers of the film hate Barbie by suggesting that you can live in Fantasyland with Barbie and you can take the Barbie shoe, or you can take Birkenstocks, right? You can become like a Portland lesbian and you can learn about reality. That's going to be the choice that you have to make, but not before she makes a joke.
What is with all, like I said, bro, all this fucking, these like little, because I'm trying to let the video play because I'm trying to get this over with by 4 o'clock. But damn, bro, really? Like all these little political punches towards everybody that you feel your audience has like hatred towards. Like, oh, she has to become a Portland lesbian. Like, come on, man. Damn.
About Ken and wanting to see the nude blob he is packing under those pants. Somebody said that? Perfect for 8-year-old girls, ladies. Mothers, just be warned. Ken and Barbie head off to the real world to try to find the person who's playing with Barbie. And immediately, upon arriving in the real world, Barbie is hit with an overwhelming tsunami of sexism. Like, right away, boom! She walks in, and a bunch of men just leer at her and say, "Give us a smile, Blondie." which is something that no one under the age of 70.
That's an observation of a man that does not partake in his behavior in any way, shape, or form. Women do experience and deal with a lot of sexual harassment when they go out in public, especially when it's a very feminine, good-looking woman. This is just a simple fact of a lot of women's lives, and this movie just wanted to highlight it. Don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with going up to a woman and saying that she's pretty or that you look beautiful today, you know, your dress looks nice and stuff. But there is a lot of men out here who, like, you know, their little comments and shit are just sexual harassment. And this is a harsh reality that a lot of men need to deal with. I had to deal with it. I had to think about the shit that I said. I had to think about the way I carry myself, the way that I compliment and comment on and about people. Even though I was never like an outspoken man that was like overly confident, and I never really gave off that like sexual assaulter energy. You know, I was always just like a very shy person anyway. When I became more of a left-leaning person, especially I was starting to learn more about feminism and women's issues, I was just like, yeah, you need to be careful about how you talk to women, because some of the shit that you can say can come off not as endearing or complimenting on a woman's beauty. It could come off as disgusting harassment. That's just a simple fact. And then not to mention, a woman doesn't want to hear that shit every motherfucking day just because she looks a certain way and stuff like that. Like blonde white women, you know, especially some of the ones I'm sure that are feminists that might watch your videos or watch this video. Hopefully I can grow a fucking audience. But yeah, they deal with that shit. Smile. What's wrong with you? Fix your face. You got a nice, you know, insert body part here. You know, and it's just like they get tired of shit, and this movie is calling it out. Deal with it. Like, you know, because most of your audience, you know, and it's like the only reason why most of your audience will, like, it's the same reason like why like Sneako's audience or Andrew Tate audience wouldn't like this film, is because they do this shit, and then when it gets called out in a more public fashion, they want to act all indignant, like, oh, this doesn't happen. Like, yes, it does. It happens. Not just at bars where it's like cloaked and kind of like dark and everybody's drunk. They do this shit in public out loud. And it's like a lot of men out there that need to check themselves. Sorry.
Has said to a woman in the recent past. Give us a smile, Blondie. Seriously? We get Barbie explaining that all of the men who are leering at her and gazing at her, they have an undertone of violence. Everything's she's threatened. She's physically threatened, because this is the real world. The real world is not like Barbie Land. In the real world, all women are victims. They are deep and abiding victims of the system.
And yes, you can, like I said, cope. And I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to skip forward to right here. Because I also, like I said, I'm trying to get out of the house by 4 o'clock. But yes, Ben, a lot of women, a lot of these dudes and stuff, when they are harassing women, have an undertone of violence. Because it just depends on what you're saying and how you say it. And a lot of shit that a lot of men say out in public come out as very sexual assaultery. And, you know, instead of like that thing I keep saying over and over in these videos, instead of getting mad at the movie or media criticizing the dumb shit you're saying, you know, the dumb shit that you do and say, maybe you should do some self-introspection about why you feel the need to defend these positions and do these things. First forward skip, because you're going to hurry the fuck up.
At the beginning, half the time she plays Barbie is kind of stiff like a doll, and half the time she plays Barbie is just kind of normal. And so now she plays it super stiff like a doll. She sits down, you know, in kind of 90-degree position like a Barbie would, and she keels over in the 90-degree position. And it would be funny, except she hasn't been doing it the whole film. And the level of inconsistency and bad filmmaking is just off the chart. They needed somebody to actually sit down with them and be an adult in the room, and no one was there. So, at this point, America Ferrera and daughter decide they've given up on Barbie, because Barbie won't fight for herself. And so they take off. And Michael Cera, for no reason, is in this film. And he's in the back of the car, and we don't know why.
Yeah, confused about.
Because he is a representation. He is a representation of a non-binary person, not really feeling a place on the side of men or women. I think most non-binary people side on the side of feminists, but at the end of the day, that's what this person's representation was like.
And he serves no purpose other than to have a random fight scene, and also so that they can make a Trump building the wall reference. Right? They're apparently the Kens
yeah, that thing that he couldn't do. I know.
Build a wall to keep people from getting in or getting out. Now, here's the weird part. No one has ever entered or exited Barbie Land before. Why are you building a wall? What is the necessity for a wall? Unexplained. just a dumb Trump reference that everybody who is friends with Noah Baumbach and Greta Gerwig can laugh and nod like the morons they are. And so,
what are you so mad for? Because your president failed to do the thing that he said he was going to do, and then they tore it down. It got knocked down. We're not going to even get into the immigration shit right now, but it's just like, deal with it, man. That's all I can
mom,
say.
They decide, no, we have to go back and we have to save Barbie Land. They're going to save Barbie Land. And who do they go to? They go to wise, weird lesbian Barbie. They go back to Kate McKinnon.
How do you know that she's lesbian? Did she say that she was a lesbian? Didn't think so.
And they ask her about this. And they bring Barbie with
And
them.
even on top of that, bro, because I hate this shit. Especially as I went through my life growing up, I used to be like indoctrinated and socialized to think that all women that were feminists were some type of like weird lesbians and shit. It's plenty of women out here that are feminists that love men. Like, you know, and I can get more vulgar with how much they love men, but I'm just gonna keep it. They date men, they sleep with men, they have husbands, they have normal healthy relationships. Every single person that's a feminist or that criticizes masculinity is not some like, you know, some D word or some lesbian, dude. There's plenty of women out here that are straight women that are feminists, or they might be bisexual. You never fucking know.
To figure out a strategy. How to
Like,
stop
every feminist is not some like ugly lesbian girl sitting in a corner or tomboy or something. Like, you need to stop that shit. And when a lot of these men in your audience believe this shit, they wonder why they single. That's why.
the Kens from winning the vote. Now, you might say to yourself, wait, aren't the women majority? Do they not have agency, the women? They have no agency, apparently. So apparently the women have no agency, and they are a majority, and yet they have to be deprogrammed. They're going to be deprogrammed by Weird Barbie and her crazy cadre of feminist heroes.
I love you guys.
And this is when we start getting into the real. You think it's propagandistic so far? Oh man, wait. Here is where we get into like the real meat of it. Okay, so we end up with Barbie complaining. She's complaining to Weird Barbie, and she says, "Oh my God, they've brainwashed all the other Barbies. They've brainwashed all the other Barbies." She says, "Quote: Either you're brainwashed or you're weird and ugly. There is no in between." And Weird Barbie says, "Tell me about it." And this is the perspective of the film. Either you're a third wave feminist kook who hates men, truly hates men, or
No, third wave feminism or feminism in general is not about hating men. If you actually study and dissect and learn things from what feminism is actually promoting, it leads to a society that's better for men too. Because that the end result of feminism is anti-capitalism, which also benefits men too. You can't have feminism with capitalism most of the time. I think, of course, you can have some type of feminist critique of society of women not being in positions of power, but the end result of feminism is a more equitable world for everybody. That's why you would notice real feminists, not punk ass TERFs, work alongside like people that are, pro-immigration, black liberation, LGBT people, and union organizers, because a more equitable society is a more feminist society. So, like, you can stop right there, man. Nobody, well, at least I'm not stupid enough to fall for this. I hope y'all not.
you're brainwashed.
Hi, Barbie.
Hi, Ken.
There's no in between. There's no actual relationship between men and women. There can't be any sort of fulfilling relationship between men and women. There are no decent males in the
They're not saying that it's not no decent relationship. Of course, it's a hyperbolic statement about how patriarchy looks and works. Like, it's obviously being hyperbolic. No feminist says or thinks like this. They just want you to think feminists say and think like this because, look, if you be friends with and you actually start talking to feminists as a right-wing person, you might start to lean a little liberal and you might eventually one day become a leftist. So what Ben is doing here, he's constructing a straw man, a person that does not exist. There are no feminists out there except TERFs, which are not real feminists, people who are right-wing by anybody's definition, that so-called hate men.
entire film. All the men are garbage. The only man who even appears mildly is America Ferrer's husband, who's just kind of a joke. He's there for literally 10 seconds in the film, making jokes about how he can't speak Spanish. That's his whole role. In the film.
No, if anything, that he's an example of wholesome masculinity where he's not being domineering or violent towards women. Let me teach you something about relationships real fast as we go on in this video. one of the most important things in being in a relationship is not about how domineering, mean, strong, or how much money you have. This can also be about giving your the woman that you're dating a sense of comfort, a sense of relaxation. So being on edge 24/7, talking about people that you can beat up, talking about oh, I gotta go to the gym to pump some iron, or cursing your woman out, telling her to shut up, trying to force her to do things that she don't want to do, get you the furthest thing away from women. So y'all might want to drop this shit, because this is what he's doing. Like I said, he's creating a straw man, and he's also giving bad relationship advice. Like, oh, if you're a man and you sit at home and you just like relax and you read like books, or you watch a little TV and stuff, you're a weak man if you're just like just living and it's like, if you're a man, you don't have to live every single waking moment of your life angry and ready to hurt somebody or take advantage of somebody.
Every other man is a piece of shit in the film. Everyone. And so, this is the perspective of the film when you come right down to it. Either you are brainwashed, or you are weird and ugly. And Barbie's like, that's what Barbie says. I mean, the only decent male is Alan, who apparently wants to wear pink and probably is supposed to be gay. I mean, I think it's supposed to be pretty clear from the film. Although, really, the take of the film is that all the Kens are gay. That's really the take of the film, is that it's all homoerotic kind of stuff.
Let's beach off.
Anyone who wants to beach him off has to beach me off first.
I will beach both of you off at the same time.
And in any case, the filmmakers
I'm
are so...
trying my best not to because I know that it's like not a very left-wing thing to do. I am trying my best not to call Ben Shapiro. I'm trying my best not to call Ben Shapiro gay, because fuck it, I can't take anymore. I think Ben Shapiro is secretly gay and in the closet, because how his mannerisms, the way that he speaks, the way he act, I feel like his family, all and like everything that he is and the way he exists as a person, especially from his like college years up to now, is all a fucking facade. Because he can talk fast and he can clean up good. He makes a good right-wing pundit. But I think Ben Shapiro is like completely in a motherfucking closet. He's gay. I think Ben Shapiro is to the point where his wife, or whoever his wife is supposed to be, is not his wife. I think Ben Shapiro has a husband. I don't think Ben Shapiro has a wife. I don't think he has children and that other stuff. And I hate the stereotype people, because everybody that's like posh, talks fast, and dressed well isn't gay. But it's his like burning homophobia, like the complete hatred, the disdain for anything gay. Even his friend Dave Rubin was like, hey, you can come to our wedding if you want to. No, I won't be coming to that. Jesus, I'm not gonna say never in my life, because you got people like Walsh and Knowles and Fuentes and all the other motherfuckers. Fuentes might be gay too. There's a bunch of shit there, but it's just like, dude, bro, you come off as really, really gay. Like, as much as the way that you act, plus how much, bro, you feel like you gotta make it your life's mission. Don't get me wrong, he criticizes other shit, but you gotta criticize homosexuality and the way that you do with the aggression that he criticizes it with. This dude seems really in a fucking closet to me. I'm sorry. And if that's not a very left-wing thing to say, my bad.
With even their own script, that they then have the narrator jet in to say, Margot Robbie might not be the best person to make this point, right? Because Barbie's saying, I don't feel beautiful anymore. And they're like, Margot Robbie...
We're going to skip 4 so I can wrap this up.
...to be separate. They're not supposed to be together. And that maybe the matriarchy will allow the men not to be on the Supreme Court of
I don't want to go too far for it.
And Ken, who is now really sad because he's lost his power, and all he wanted in the first place was just to be treated decently by Barbie. Is he treated decently at the end by Barbie?
Yes.
Of course he isn't. That would be silly.
He is.
At the very
yes,
end.
he is, because he's given equal rights, and he's not. And it's like this, dude. That's the problem with conservatism. It's either my way or the highway. It's either white people got to control everything and be on every movie, or and then if a black or or Hispanic person is in the movie or something like that, that's destroying white people. If men control everything, society, and every society is equal, there's nothing wrong. With women control society, there's something wrong. So it's only one way or the other. Either the people that are in a position of power, as we know in a society now, have all the power, and if anybody else gets a little bit of power or a little bit of representation, that's a destroying threat to white men. Okay, man, got it.
He is told that he needs to learn to live without Barbie.
And yes, this is a good lesson that a lot of men need to learn in society. Because I remember before I got married, or just earlier this year and stuff like that, I broke up with my ex-girlfriend. And a lot of the times, completely different woman, by the way. I spent a lot of time throughout my entire life, quote unquote, chasing women, chasing a quote unquote American dream, and, chasing a spirit of masculinity that I didn't have to chase. And one of the most important lessons that I learned as a man, that it's okay to relax. It's okay to not be with somebody. It's okay not to always, to have like a high body count and be on, be slept and slept with a bunch of women and what have you. And it's a lot of men out there that can learn from Kenan's experience, because toxic pieces of shit like you've been, your hyper capitalism, your hyper traditional masculinity, because there's nothing wrong with being traditionally masculine, because I like fucking skateboarding, I love punk rock and other rock music, and I love wearing loose fitting clothes and shit like that. There's nothing wrong with being a man, but your entire identity does not, like I even said earlier, have to be built around what you have in dating somebody, or how many women you've been with, or getting some women back. As a man in society, and women have to do it too, they also have to learn this lesson backhandedly from the other way. You have to create your own identity. You cannot live your life trying to be somebody else. You can't live like this. It doesn't work.
I just don't know who I am without you.
You're Ken.
But it's Barbie and Ken. There is no just Ken.
He, who was literally created as a doll to be with Barbie, he needs to learn to be apart from Barbie, and she needs to learn to be apart from him, because atomistic isolation and loneliness is the best way to find fulfillment, ladies and gentlemen.
They're not saying this. Says the motherfucker that defends capitalism as we know it, which is causing a lot of isolation and loneliness and shit like that. They're not saying you have to be isolated and lonely. They're saying that you have to form your own identity outside of your spousal relationships. Your entire identity as a person cannot be formed around being with somebody, because if that's the case, you wind up being a very toxic and hard to live with person who becomes insufferable and reliant on the attention of the opposite sex, or sometimes the same sex, to survive. And that's the lesson that needs to be learned here. Both men and women and everybody in between can learn a lesson from this.
It'll be best for Ken if he never sees Barbie again. It'll be better for Barbie if she never sees Ken again. Secular humanism is at its finest. We've reached the apotheosis. Men and women don't belong together. They belong very, very much apart. This is all topped off by...
Oh my God, I'm not going to say it again about the motherfuckers that defend like Andrew Tate. And it's like I said in a previous video, that one video I did that was basically a rant about like red pillars in my comment section on that short. These are the same motherfuckers that literally teach you to have an adversary relationship with all the women that you come across and all the women in your life. And then they got the nerve to turn around and say like, oh, this movie, because it says that you have to form an identity outside of who you're dating, is like bad. Like, okay, man, whatever you got to tell yourself.
Issa Rae calling somebody a mother. Again, perfect for your 7-year-old girl.
Stupid motherfucker.
Just perfect for her. And so we learned that men and women are supposed to be separate. They're not supposed to be together.
They're not saying that, dude, because he keeps saying that over and over again. Because what he's doing, he's priming you. He's placating on that loneliness, that isolation, a lot of inceldom that's in right-wing audiences of people who are chasing women, following his and his contemporaries' bad advice for dating and not getting that fulfillment. And it's like a lot of these men that you're talking to are not single because there's quote unquote propaganda telling people that they don't have to be together and trying to normalize quote unquote being gay. A lot of people in your fucking audience are single because they follow the dumb shit that you and other people say. The hyper-capitalism, the toxic masculinity. By toxic masculinity, I mean having to work all the time, trying to be tough 24/7, can't relax, can't be nice to somebody. Everything has to be about, every date has to be about getting sex at some point. Everything has to be about taking advantage of and interrupting the agency of a woman instead of just like loving the woman for who she is. And then a lot of your audience wind up single. That's why. Not to mention the fact that you defend things like violence against women and, that trickles to them and then they get caught up with all that shit. That's why a lot of people in your audience are single. They're not single because of this movie. And it's very disingenuous for this guy to go around and keep saying that shit.
And that maybe the matriarchy will allow the men not to be on the Supreme Court of Barbie Land, but maybe they can get some lower circuit court judgeships. This is what we learned. And we learned.
That's because that's how it works when minorities gets rights. The kings in this movie were the fucking minorities. This is why it took so fucking long. I think it's only been like, what, 11 black senators through all of U.S. history, and been like very few black Supreme Court justices and shit, is because that's how society works. When society starts to include minorities in different, in society, progress is slow, and this movie is backhandedly representing that. And you are a symptom of the problem, Ben. Yo punk bitch ass. Every time a black person does anything, like earlier in this movie, the Kamala Harris comments, where you normalize only straight white cis right wing men having positions of power, or even like intermediate centrist people having positions of power. People that you can manipulate having positions of power too. People that are into it for the money, like Owens or Clarence Thomas and what have you. You incentivize a society that keeps minority on the lower parts of the totem pole. This shit like that is your fault, and it's a simple criticism of how shit in society works. Well, we had a black president. How many black presidents did we have? What race are the last two presidents that we had after him? Exactly. Shut the fuck up.
One day the Kens might have as much power and influence in Barbie world as women have in the real world.
Yeah, and that's how shit is for all minorities, and it's like, I know this is a definitively feminist movie, but progress for minorities of any kind to get representation and control in society in ways that benefit them is very fucking difficult. This is not about keeping the quote unquote men down. This is a representation of how slow progress is for, women, LGBT people, just even working class white people, like John Fetterman, shit like that. Or like, even, of course, black people, Hispanic people, and many others to get representation through the government. This is a you problem, Ben. You cause shit like this with this dumbass hackney propaganda videos that you put together. You are the cause of them making that criticism.
Because, of course, women are again, just absolutely subjugated in the real world. You think that's the end of the movie? Wrong. This thing has more endings than Lord of the Rings. So, ending number one is we find out that Ken is going to live apart from Barbie. He's going to find himself in being Ken. Ah, the utter joy of self-exploration. Next, we get an ending in which the CEO of Mattel, who's been completely sidelined. You remember the CEO of Mattel? Remember he was supposed to be chasing them into Barbie Land for no apparent reason? So he's now in Barbie Land. We don't know why he's there or what he's there to do, except that we need Will Ferrell in the movie to provide no laughs. He doesn't provide any laughs. So he shows up. His motivation throughout this movie has been completely inconsistent. He started off wanting to put Barbie back in Barbie Land so that they could make money. And then he is told at one point that when Kens have taken over Kendom, they will make just as much money. He's like, no, that cannot be. I'm an ideologue on behalf of women. And then he arrives, and he is told that...
It was a joke. It was a hyperbolic fantasy that these products were walking around in the real world. That was the joke part of the movie. You missed it. That's your problem.
That America Ferrera wants to make ordinary Barbie, which, by the way, would sell zero. Anyway, that will be profitable, and so now he wants to make ordinary Barbie because he's back to being uber capitalist, evil capitalist, just making money off Barbie because again, Mattel are bad guys, but they're also the good guys. They're kind of bad guys, but they're mostly the good, but they're a little bad. And
that's
so
how capitalism works. That's because that's how capitalism works, pussy. You go along with society, the social norm, and the thing that's benefiting you and making money at the time. You don't change things on behalf of, trying to do the right thing. You do what's necessary to make money. Criticize capitalism. Don't criticize the fucking movie.
Number two, at this point, so we have the Barbie Ken ending. We have the CEO of Mattel ending. Where he says, we'll make ordinary Barbie, and then girls all over the world will know that ordinariness is fine and okay. Because it's not that girls play with Barbie because they think she's beautiful and it's aspirational. No, it's bad. Okay, so then we have ending number three. And you think you're done? Wrong. We're now 2 hours deep into this piece of shit. And we have now dug halfway to China, and we are going to keep digging. So we have ending number three. Rhea Perlman shows up to lecture us all about the patriarchy again. We haven't heard it enough. We got to beat this sucker into the ground. We are going to take an axe, the blunt end of the axe, and we're just going to beat this thing to death. We're just going to beat it to death. So, Rhea Perlman shows up because Barbie, it turns out, she spent so much time in the real world. That was the patriarchy was terrible. So terrible that she wanted to stop it from happening in Barbie Land. But now she wants to go back there because she actually learned some feelings over in the real world. So she decides that after all, this whole story was just Pinocchio, that she just wants to be a real boy. And in what can only be termed a sort of bait and switch, at the very end of the film, just to please the core audience, which is moms and daughters, they insert a bunch of footage, I kid you not, like home video footage, of moms and daughters playing. That's what it is, like people living their lives in female ways. Because Rhea Perlman is going to show Barbie what it's like to be a human, and then Barbie is going to say that she really wants to be a human just like you. Just like you.
That's too damn bad. That's the point of the movie. Maybe she wants to be something more than a fucking doll. She wants to actually, go through life and actually be a fucking person. That's her personal decision. You can't, unwrite that out of the script or something like that. It happened, Ben. Fucking deal with it. I don't understand what's being fucking criticized here. I guess at the end of the day, maybe it's a symbolism for a woman wanting to be less of a doll or a prop piece and a background character, and a woman. That's why he's offended, because a woman, she wants to be less of a background piece, a prop, and a doll, and she wants to actually partake in society and be a person. And Ben can't have that. She can't have that influence beyond women.
And so they hit you with the nostalgia play at the very end. The whole movie, which should have been nostalgia and about moms and daughters, instead, the entire movie is not that. The entire movie is instead about how
this movie was literally about a working class mom dealing with her angsty teenage daughter. Fuck off.
Are evil and terrible. And also Mattel is evil and terrible. And then at the very end, they shove in this little nostalgia play in the hope that they can buy back the audience at the very end of the film. And Barbie decides that she is going to be a real woman now. Now, when she goes, that's ending number 3. There's still one more. So, when that happens, when she goes into this white area that's supposed to be heaven, because the person who she saw, Rhea Perlman, is actually the person who actually created the doll. And we're supposed to be, this was supposed to be a secret, is that Mattel was run by men, but the big secret all along is that a woman created the doll. News.
It's not a secret. You could have Googled that. Or you could have just guessed it from the fact that it's a fucking Barbie doll. Or maybe it's just an ironic twist to, criticize patriarchy as we know it. Deal with it.
It's not a secret. She was CEO of the company for 30 years. CEO of Mattel for 30 years, like 1945.
Dude, would you stop saying that shit, bro? Just because you have a person in position of power, that's a minority, or that's a white woman, by the way, does not mean that there is not problems in society with how that minority in question is treated. It's lots of rich women around, but sexual harassment, sexual assault, the wage gap, and many other fucking pervasive issues that women deal with still fucking exist. Most women are not this rich white woman. A lot of women out there are just regular everyday women going to the office, going to the factory, going to the fucking restaurant, and doing their fucking thing and dealing with the ills of just simply being a fucking woman. So stop this shit, bro. Because they do it when anytime they talk about a minority, if it's like a piece of media that's discussing how a minority has a problem, they be like something, well, I did, talk about black issues earlier, like with the Obama thing. They'd be like they say Hispanic people face a lot of discrimination, but what about George Lopez? He seems to be doing pretty good. Stop this shit. It's disingenuous and transparent. And the only people that fall for it are your audience of hateful people who I hope at the end of the day will listen to what I'm saying and unlearn this hate. So this is fucking disingenuous. Just because, I will say it again, slowly, just because you have a minority of woman in a position of power does not mean that there is not problems in society that affects the life of those minorities in question. Because most minority people, in general, are just regular working class people, or even poor, even some homeless. And these problems with, toxic masculinity, misogyny, in the pervasive ways it affects women socially and economically, still hurts a lot of women. And this dude's throwing out there, well, this woman was rich, so what is she talking about?
1975, until the IRS caught her for tax evasion or something. The big reveal that the patriarchy said that it created Barbie, it didn't. No one thought the patriarchy created Barbie. And don't bother with facts, don't bother with sense, don't bother with chronology, none of it mattered. So, the marketing campaign for this movie has been astonishingly good, right? If you walked into this movie and you knew nothing of what I just said, what would you think this movie is? You would think that this movie was probably something like the Disney movie Enchanted, but with Barbie. There's going to be Barbie in Barbie Land, and then it's going to be Barbie in the real world, and it's going to be charming, and it's going to be funny, and it's going to be warm-hearted, and it's not going to be vicious and cynical, and it's not going to be what morons talk about at Hollywood cocktail parties. It's just going to be fun. It's going to be a place where a mom might be able to take her 7-year-old or 8-year-old girl and enjoy themselves together, and then walk out with their arms around each other. You might think that's what it was going to be. And undoubtedly, millions of moms and their daughters will think that. That's what you're seeing at the theaters. That's why you're seeing everybody wearing pink to the theaters. It's become like a Star Wars kind of thing, right? It's an actual cosplay of it. The number of moms who are going to take their daughters back to the theater week 2, good luck with that. Really?
Sure, whatever you say, nigga. But anyways, that's the end of me criticizing Ben Shapiro's psychotic fucking take on a Barbie movie. It was even worse and more disingenuous than his Batman movie. I would end this video by saying that, number one, you should rent the movie or go see the movie if you still can. It's a good movie that's worth watching through, and you can learn a couple of life lessons or two through it. And the final thing I will say is that if you're a man out here of trying to find your place in society and you feel there's a bunch of problems and agendas against you, maybe you should actually engage in a positive dialogue with either a male feminist or male leftist, or a leftist woman or a feminist woman. I mean an actual feminist, not a bitch ass turf. And maybe it's some things that you can learn from that person about how society works, and the problems that we face may not be all that different from the problems that they face, because it all ends at capitalism at the end of the day. Do not believe this disingenuous hack bullshit where everything about feminism and everything about a woman criticizing society is rigged up to say that, oh, they're trying to hurt and destroy men. Because Ben Shapiro has debated feminists, and he knows there's more to the story about feminism than just hating men. Things are not that simple. So again, have those conversations, engage in that dialogue, you might come out the other side of it a better person. And the last thing I will keep in mind, keep saying to all the men out there that are single and shit like that, somehow respect Ben Shapiro for whatever reason, is that do not listen to this guy's dating advice on women, and don't act like he's a person that knows women. It's not because the gay joke that I made earlier. It's mostly because you listen to people that teach you to see women as adversaries and people to be conquered. You will never find somebody to love you. This is Skate Punk Lefty. You have a good day.